Start winning at the races with Daily Racing Form's new Mobile Pass performances, featuring exclusive buyer speed figures and expert analysis and selections. Go to drf.com/best and get the power of DRF in the palm of your hand. Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer. Let's take a look at the field for race number 13 at Churchill Downs on Kentucky Oaks Friday. Some really nice turf sprinters in the Grade 2 turf sprint. 5.5 furlongs, big scratch expected. The 4 Bound for Nowhere, who would have been one of the major contenders and one of the major pace protagonists, is expected to scratch out of here, which would bring the also eligible into the race. You take Bound for Nowhere out, even with him in the race, it was wide open. You take him out, and this race all of a sudden becomes a war with the possibility for some nice prices.
No, I agree with that. I mean, in a lot of ways, he was the horse to beat in this race, even if he wasn't going to be a substantial favorite, perhaps. But he was the horse to beat. And so you're right. Taking him out opens things up. And you're right also that it sort of changes the pace a little bit because he definitely would have been up there on the lead or near it.
Let's take a look at that Timeform US pace projector. And remember, when this scratch becomes official, this pace projector at timeformus.com will update. The 4 will be taken out, which means the 2 and the 14 will be on the lead. Well Able does have a lot of speed. Certainly Cheap Secretaries. Well Able, if he is able to get to an easy lead, he's pretty good.
Yeah, he's a dangerous horse in this race. It's in more so with Bound for Nowhere coming out, Dan, because if he makes the lead, he could be very tough to catch.
One of the more versatile horses in this race is the number 1 Diamond Oops. Diamond Oops is a very good sprinter. He is a multiple graded stakes winner sprinting on the dirt. And even though he's a maiden on the turf, he ran such a big race in the Shadwell Turf Mile last year, Mike, where he was the only part of the pace battling it out all the way down to the wire. Now, here's his most recent effort. And this, I think, was just a prep off a little bit of an injury-induced layoff. They ran him in a 1-turn mile. He's down on the inside. He gets beat at even money. But I think it was an okay stepping off point. And I know he's coming off another little bit of a layoff here. But with his versatility, I don't mind him switching back to turf. I am a little concerned that the 5 is sharp for him, even though he won his debut going 5.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see if it's a little too short for him. I agree with your take on his return, that race we just watched there. It just felt like a race he probably needed. He just wasn't sharp at all in that race. But I thought he did well to get second when all was said and done. And we'll just see what happens if it's too short, because you're right that he's only won on turf 3 times. But he's clearly proven that he can handle turf. His Shadwell turf was an excellent performance. And when they sprinted him twice earlier last summer, he ran well in those races. The first one off of the layoff where there was no pace at all, and he actually made a really good run to be third. And then again in the Grade 1 Jaipur, Dan, where World of Trouble just got absolutely loose on the lead. And this horse held his position all the way around the track. His turf races are underrated.
Well Abled has been more of a synthetic horse for most of his career. He's won 6 of 10 starts, but the last time he raced on turf, he was a winner at Canterbury in the Honor of the Hero Stakes. I wonder if the 6 was a little far for him last time out, and turning back to this 5.5 furlong distance might work to his advantage, especially if Manny Franco could get him relaxed on the front.
Yeah, his 3 turf races, 3 turf sprints, they're all pretty good since he came back from that layoff. It's funny when you watch his last race, and maybe you're right, Dan. Maybe the 6 did ultimately get to him, because when you watch that race, I still don't know how he lost. I mean, he was very confidently ridden into the stretch, still clear past the 16th pole, like he couldn't possibly lose. And he just sort of gave that race up at the end. That was pretty disappointing for a horse who had been really good on synthetic prior to that. But boy, he's been good on turf, and he has big speed.
The 3 Real News, the 5 Extravagant Kid, both exit this race, the Shakertown, where Bound for Nowhere finished 3rd. Real News was down inside early. He's in the blue cap in between horses in the second flight, and he just doesn't fire with these horses in the stretch. He tires badly. Extravagant Kid broke a beat slow from the rail, far back early. He's going to come into the picture just about now, the number 1 on the outside with a late run. He was probably compromised a little bit by the start and doesn't have to be that close to the pace. We'll get to him in a minute. Real News, blinkers on, first time gelding. He's a stakes winner at Sam Houston. I think he needs to prove a little bit that he can step with these horses.
Yeah, I think he's got a lot to prove as well. He's run some good races sprinting on turf, but when they've tried him against the better horses, it really hasn't been there for him. And he did not run well at all in the Shakertown last time.
And as for Extravagant Kid, again, I think that break kind of cost him a little bit because he was so far back turning into the stretch. Now that pace was coming apart. Bound for Nowhere ran a really remarkable race as the only part of the pace that was hanging around there. Extravagant Kid can get closer, though. He likes to win. He's 25 for 43 in the exacta, and he's having a really nice run of it.
Yeah, I think with the scratch of Bound for Nowhere, it just makes this horse even that much tougher. And I thought he was a contender anyway, even with Bound for Nowhere in. I just think it makes it tougher. His last race, I guess it could be a little bit of a concern, Dan. He didn't break that well, and he just got way too far back early. All in all, I thought he ran fine. His race two back off the layoff over the Churchill turf course, he looked really good winning that race.
Tell Your Daddy was sixth in the Shakertown, another horse that was making a late run and benefiting from the fast pace of that race. Caught soft ground last time out. Another horse that probably needs a little bit of a pace collapse and some things to happen because he might be a bit class compromised.
He might be going back to the Shakertown two back. I mean, he ran just about as well as Extravagant Kid did, Dan. They got similar trips in there. They finished noses apart at the wire. I mean, based on that effort, if you like Extravagant Kid, you could probably use this horse somewhere at a better price. He soft turf last time. I personally thought it was hard to tell. It looked like he never really came clear in the stretch, but I just wasn't sure how much run he actually had.
Smart Remark was second in this race last year behind World of Trouble, who was at that point one of the better turf sprinters in the entire world. The issue with Smart Remark is he just doesn't win very often. Second on synthetic last time out, 1 for 15 on turf. He might be the kind of horse that spices up your exotics at a big price given the right trip.
Yeah, 1 for 15 on turf. The lone win in his career debut, Dan, August of 2017. That's the only time he's won on the grass. But his recent form is actually pretty good. Maybe you can get a piece of this. I wouldn't use him on top.
I think Just might be a sleeper at 30-1 on the morning line. Part of that fast pace in the Shakertown paid the price that day. 2 starts back at Churchill Downs, ran okay against Well-Abled, has the tactical speed to work out a good trip in here, is a stakes winner this year sprinting at the fairgrounds. I wonder if they try to get a little aggressive with him coming out of the gate.
Yeah, with the scratch of Bound for Nowhere, that might be the right plan, right? Just to come out of there running and see if you can get the right trip up on the pace. Even in that scenario, he's going to have to deal with Well-Abled, who he was just no match for 2 starts back, even though he was only beaten a length. It really wasn't that close. I didn't think he ran that well in the Shakertown last time. He's going to have to do better than that.
Jazzy Times hasn't won a race since 2018, was dangled for the $40,000 tag in this race at Ellis Park last month. And Jazzy Times ran okay. He's down in between horses with the white stripe and the white silks, going to get to the outside, and the 3-path is going to close a little bit and ending up finishing second, but only with a 79 Beyer speed figure, handled easily by Real News at Sam Houston 3 starts back. Just has to improve.
Yeah, just has to improve. He ran okay in that race, though. He's going to be a big price in this race. Maybe he can get a piece, too. He's going to sit off of it and try and make a run, probably.
Maybe the now horse in the race is trained by Brian Lynch. That's the 10 Karotari. Let's watch his most recent race at Ellis Park. It was the preview turf sprint, and it was over soft going. But Karotari's on the outside in the blue silks, the number 5, and he readily goes by this field the last 16th of a mile. He has some work to do, and he runs down this speed.
Yeah, it was a game win because it looked like High Crime had things. After he put away the pace challenge, it looked like High Crime was going to wire the field. But he just didn't finish it off. Karatari was very game to close him down. I like his tactical speed, Dan. I do wonder if even if his best race, I'm not sure if it's going to be good enough to beat this field.
Fielder, the 11, hasn't won in 2 years. He was in that Carl Boys at Presque Isle Downs, finished behind Well-Abled. He chased him in the early portion of that race. He's the kind of horse I always thought of as maybe a nice listed horse in the Mid-Atlantic area. I'm not sure if he's up to this level, especially at this point in his career.
Yeah, I thought this was going to be tough for him too. And I say that even realizing if Bound for Nowhere doesn't run, a lot of the top turf sprinters in the country really aren't here for this race. But even so, it's probably too tough for Fielder.
12 Chaps came from just off the pace to win at Colonial last time out. Not sure about the field he was beating in that race. However, this is a big step up in class as he makes his stakes debut.
Yeah, I thought he ran well last time, but he also got an absolutely perfect trip against a weaker field. His 2 turf sprints to kick off his 2020 campaign, they were okay. He didn't run poorly in those races, and he is a very tactical horse.
We saw Tiger Blood get up for second in that Ellis Park race that was won by Karotari. The prior effort just caught up in a wicked duel in the Shaker Town. I'm willing to forgive that effort. This horse occasionally runs some very fast races. And I have a feeling last time out, they didn't really show a lot of speed with him. And I think they paid the price getting into some traffic. This time around, I think they're going. He's seeking his 20th lifetime win.
Yeah, he's the horse that I wanted out of that Ellis Park race. He did not have a good trip in there. And you're right that, maybe they will get more aggressive this time because they tried to rate him. He got blocked in traffic. And by the time he got himself clear, it was way too late. He ran an underrated race last time. It feels like this is a horse who could really take a step forward for Maker.
A horse that might really appreciate the scratch of the morning line favorite is Chief Secretaries, because he's one-way speed, I think. Breaking from post 14, he needed some help. And with the scratch, maybe he can obtain a forward position similar to that last race, the Honor of the Hero. Now, in the Honor of the Hero, he chased Well-Abled, who might be the speed in this race, and he couldn't get by him. But that being said, it was his first race off a little bit of a layoff. And he's run some big races in the past, albeit on dirt. I think at a price, we'll know him early.
Yeah, he ran well in that race last time, considering it was off a layoff and his first ever start on the grass, and Well-Abled got loose on the lead in there. This horse ran really well to make it close at the end. I can see him taking a step forward in here.
15 High Crime draws into the body of the race. We saw him get run down, not only by Karotari, but by the troubled Tiger Blood last time. And maybe he just didn't appreciate the soft going, but he sure seemed to appreciate it for the first 5/8 of a mile.
Yeah, it was a pretty disappointing loss. I thought he didn't run poorly in there, Dan, but it didn't make me want to bet him back in this spot.
Let's take a look at our top selections for the Turf Sprint. Chance for some prices. You're going with Diamond Oops. Love his versatility. Certainly has the class to fit with these horses. Just needs a trip.
Yeah, that's exactly how we looked at it. We'll see if the 5.5 proves to be too short, but he's been so versatile. I'm not really going to worry about that. I think he fits right in with these horses.
I think Chief Secretaries could at least give me a brief thrill. Breaking from the outside post, I think they're going to quarter horse him out of there, try to make the lead. If not, maybe sit off Well-Abled. He'll be there turning for home at a big price. Whether he can hold off some nice closers is a different story. 14, 1, 5, and 3 for me. 1, 5, 13, 2 for Mike. It's the Turf Sprint, race number 13 at Churchill Downs on Kentucky Oaks Friday. Best of luck.